What's up, Raider Nation? We are back after a huge win in Kansas City. Um, Amazing performance by the entire staff, the players, and it was incredible to watch.
Crazy game, man. Couldn't ask for anything. Couldn't ask for a better Christmas gift. That was the probably one of the best Christmas presents I've gotten in the last probably decade. And just all around, offense did its part, defense did its part. Defense won the game for us, essentially scoring 14 points when it really mattered. Um, but everything came together. All three phases of the game came together. Antonio Pierce is definitely the guy. I think we've made that clear that I don't think we're looking for a head coach anymore. I think that seat is taken now. Mark Davis would be an idiot to let this guy go, but hopefully it carries on. And playoff hopes are slim, but I mean this is just a momentum win, just like a confidence builder for a team that doesn't have much direction.
Yeah, and what a change from after that Vikings game. We came on this podcast and we're just we were hurt and we were thinking that this Antonio Pierce ride was coming to an end. And these last 2 weeks were just incredible. We didn't even do an episode after the Charger game. I don't know about you, but I was kind of sad that they went out and won that game. I wanted them to lose and tank for a draft pick. I thought the season was over after the Minnesota game. I'm sure 99% of the fans did too. And I just can't believe how well our defense played against that team who's just consistently been kicking our ass for years and years. Um,
Yeah, and four defensive touchdowns in 2 weeks. I mean, that speaks for itself. I mean, Jack Jones with two pick sixes. Then you have that Bilal Nichols fumble recovery, blew up that Mahomes dropped the ball, literally dropped the ball because now they're in trouble. I mean, I don't think people realize like Kansas City is like not in a good place right now because no one believes this, but Raiders can still win the division. As crazy as it sounds, there's still 2 games to play. If Kansas City loses both, we win out. We win the division for the first time since 2002, and we host Cleveland, most likely Cleveland Browns and Joe Flacco, who's been wheeling and dealing with Amari Cooper looking in sync almost, finding him 50 yards down the field almost every play. But this team, it's just, it feels different than 2021 because you're still happy in a way. You're still happy that the team is winning and doing well, even though it's different circumstances. Like with Basaccio, we had such a quiet guy, didn't say much. The players just really played for him, put the team on their back. Like Crosby was like, always verbal about, oh, Basaccio should be the guy. Like we didn't hear much else. Now is like everyone and their mother is tweeting like, oh, that Devontae Adams, Josh Jacobs, Zamir White, Amik Robertson, everyone. And that press conference after the game with all the players in the locker room was hilarious. Amik Robertson is a dog, man. That guy is like Louisiana bred, like the way
yeah.
that man was talking on the camera was like he's straight from Louisiana, deep down south, man. And it was awesome. It was awesome to watch. I mean, I think that game really was defined by those two defensive touchdowns. But Zamir White has to get credit for what he did. 27 or it was 22 carries for 145 yards. And that last run was just beautiful. That man is, I mean, he could be the running back of the future. It's early to say, but Jacob it doesn't look like Jacobs is going to be coming back anytime soon.
Yeah. And there's so many things that we need to get to, but I want to start off with Amik Robertson. After the first Chiefs game this season, we lost 31-17. And in his post game, the Raiders always post the post game scrums.
Mm.
And he looked like he was crying and he was like, I know we have more dogs on our team than they do. And it's a shame that we lost. We should have beat these guys. And he came out and in the this post game presser, he was like, I told you we did have more dogs and we showed it. And it wasn't even just okay, the defense, they had their 2 touchdowns, and obviously that won us the game. But that wasn't even what I was most proud of in watching it. I was proud of our toughness and our fight at the line. The way everyone on defense just gang tackled and just absolutely beat the shit out of the Kansas City Chiefs we haven't seen that in years. Like this is
Every time Mahomes scrambled or stood in the pocket, he was getting hit. They
yeah,
hurt that guy. Even if he would run for 2, 3, 4, even 7 yards, they would pop him on the sidelines. There was a couple times where I thought they were going to throw 15-yard penalties. We didn't get a single roughing call the whole game, and we hit Mahomes. We lit him up that
yeah,
day on Sunday. Or on Monday. We lit him up. Every play he was getting hit. You could tell his body language. He got hurt midway through the
yeah,
second quarter. He got hit so hard on the sidelines. There was one play, I think it was Malcolm Kuntz I think it was his second sack that just really, really got him. It was like a 0 yard sack, but he hit him hard out of bounds, like, just kind of checked him on the side. And you could just tell Mahomes was not. I mean, he's still Mahomes magic. I mean, we thought, Sean, our cousin, we were watching a game and he was like, folks, get ready to be disappointed. As soon as that touchdown happened, he got out of that sack. I think it was
yeah.
Robinson who almost got him in the backfield on it was 4th and goal, and he like just evaded that sack and threw a dart to I think Watson caught the touchdown. But Mahomes still had that magic, and if Zamir White didn't get that first down, I don't think that game goes the way it did. If he didn't get that 60-yard run, I don't know if the game goes that way because all the momentum was shifted. CBS was doing their classic Tony Romo singing and dancing on the screen and showing Taylor Swift in the press box hugging Mahomes' wife. That was great after the game when they posted
Yeah.
CBS closing credits. They were crying. They were sitting there like
Yeah.
Mahomes' wife had her covering her mouth like
Yeah.
like that was awesome. That was awesome to see. But again, another thing that Bisaccia couldn't do. I mean, like that year when we had the interim, yeah, we finished 7-5 with Bisaccia, but we got blown out by Kansas City. It was like 48-6 or something, some ridiculous score against Kansas City. And Antonio Pierce just proved he can do what no coach, the Raiders coach, haven't been able to do, and that's win in Kansas City. We haven't won in Kansas City since 2020. Gruden won in Kansas City, but Gruden obviously, his culture was different. Like it's a different culture now. It's like before they like Gruden and whatever, and then after the whole email scandal, NFL screwed us again. But this is just it just feels different having a kid from Compton, California, who's a Super Bowl champ, and I shouldn't say kid because he's been around the game for so long, but I don't think there's any way Mark Davis lets this guy go now. I think
Yeah.
this guy's going to be the coach of the future, and you get rid of Bo Hardegree, whatever his name is. You get rid of him. I think you get rid of all McDaniel staff except Patrick Graham. Patrick Graham is the one guy who should not be touched. He should be still sitting in that box right now up top where he was sitting. He should still be sitting there, and he should not move. Patrick Graham is one of the best defensive coordinators I think this league has ever seen.
Yeah.
I mean, this defense is insane. 2 defensive touchdowns again. I mean, we could go on about it all day, all day. Like 2 defensive touchdowns again. Plus, I just realized something. The background that you have that we've been using, I figured out what game it's from. It's from the
Okay.
it's from the Jeff Saturday game
I mean, that wouldn't surprise me because
because it
every home game that we lose, we're like, this doesn't make sense because opposing fans always overrun our stadium. But there's not a lot of Colts fans, and we're gonna
yeah,
get into
it's the
the
Jeff Saturday game because there's a Colts logo in the back corner. I'm just seeing it right now.
hopefully that's a good omen for our next
I
game. But
know, and we got Indy next week, which is
yeah,
crazy. So hopefully a good omen for the Indy game.
yeah,
But we'll talk about that in a bit.
yeah,
Still sticking on the Kansas City game, it was just masterclass on all sides of the ball. Offense, we didn't complete a pass after the first quarter, which you don't expect to win if you don't do, 9 passes in the first quarter, 62 yards, and then he doesn't complete anything in the second, third, or fourth. Like that's unheard of. I think the last time that happened was like in the 50s. Like the last time a team won a game without completing a pass after the first quarter.
yeah. And there were multiple third downs, like 3rd and 5, 3rd and 7, where we were just handing the ball off to Amir Abdullah.
Yeah.
And we didn't have any faith in our passing game. And even when I would watch, it was 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5. And I was just like, okay, just run the ball. Just I don't want to risk an interception because Aiden O'Connell over the middle, he was throwing behind receivers, not being accurate. Devontae and him were out of sync. So the passing game was not good. We've shown that it can be good. So it doesn't mean that the Chiefs have a good defense. I'm not saying that against Indy and Denver have worse defenses that we can't be successful with Aiden O'Connell, but clearly that wasn't working. And but our offensive line was getting a push, at least in the run game. And like you said, Zamir White just he salted the game away because if Mahomes got the ball back, I think I have no doubt that they would have won that game. And the refs were doing everything they possibly could to help the Kansas City Chiefs win that game. I remember there was a holding call. It was I think it was 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, and they were backed up. And Mahomes rolls right and he gets out of bounds for like 2, 3 yard gain. And they call the most bullshit holding call on Nate Hobbs. He didn't even touch the guy.
Yeah, he didn't even touch the guy. Yeah, I remember that play, and
Yeah.
it was
And
on
that preserved the
Kelsey. I think
drive.
it was on.
So like if Mahomes got the ball back, no matter how good our defense is playing, the refs could easily throw a PI, holding call. You never know what could have happened. So it's amazing that Zamir was able to burst out those 2 runs. They ran the same play on that. They ran like a 45-yard run, and then in the red zone they ran the exact same play call, and he still was able to get another first down. So that was big. And then another thing I wanted to get into, we mentioned Bisaccia a few times. Like both times, the players have always said we support the interim coach, and they did that for Bisaccia, but they're also doing that for Pierce. But the key difference is the product on the field is better. Like the defense was nowhere near this good under Rich Bisaccia.
Yeah,
The offense was okay. They were both units under Bisaccia were middle of the pack. Average offense, average defense, and we just got lucky in a few games. We weren't as talented of a roster and as talented of a team. And Antonio Pierce had a quote. He said, "My resume is out there on the grass." And this team is playing like a top 5 defense in the NFL, undisputedly, and or indisputably. And the offense is it's shown moments. I mean, I think we all agree we need a new quarterback at the end of the season and a new OC. But I mean, they're making it work, and it's really fun to watch. It was really good. The fan base needed a win against Kansas City. Everyone needed that.
yeah, and I think they're 3-15 or something in the last 18 meetings against Kansas City, which is just depressing. But at least now we got a guy, that he can win and he can beat Kansas City. He can come in there and we can go to Kansas City and win. We can give them a run. We should have beat them in Kansas City. I was at that game. We were up 14-0. And then as soon as Carlson missed that field goal,
Yeah,
go up 17-0, that was the game. As soon as he missed that field goal, that was toast. I think that drive, Casey scored in like 3 plays. And then the second one after that, they scored in like 2 plays. And it was like a tie game. They had 5 plays of total offense, scored 14 points in the first half.
yeah.
Like at that point, it was like the defense was so deflated in that first game. But here you could see that everyone, kind of put it together. And I don't know if I think Jack Jones played that first Kansas City game. I think that we had just picked him up and
Hmm.
had put him in because they benched Marcus Peters in the second half. They had benched Marcus Peters for doing his dumb shit. And they had put Jack Jones on, and he played well in the second half. Like, he stuck on Kadarius Toney pretty well. But overall, you're like you said, I mean, this team is playing at a different level, even though they've lost some really bad games. Like losing a game 3-0. I mean, that's just depressing, honestly. Losing 3-0. They should have beat Minnesota. They should have beat the Dolphins. They had the Dolphins beat. Aiden O'Connell made a mistake again, forced it into the end zone, which that ball hit the ground. That Jalen Ramsey
Yeah,
pick in the last play hit the ground clearly. NFL is just stupid for that. That ball hit the ground from the back camera angle. Then Pittsburgh is another game when Devontae goes for like almost 200 yards. You can't win. Like, are you joking? How do you not win that game? That's three. That's 3 wins we should have had. Then four. The fourth one was against Chargers the first time. Chargers are a fraud team. They were a shit team all year. That game, we were right there in the last drive. Aiden O'Connell had that play action rollout, and he threw a horrible pick at the 1 yard line. Like, what are you doing? Just haven't you learned from Seattle in 2013 or 2014? Just run the ball. Just give
Yeah.
it to Jacobs and get out the damn way. It's going to be a touchdown regardless. There's
Yeah.
no doubt.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
that leads us into my next point. I don't know if you're going to agree with this, but I was saying this throughout the game is who's a better quarterback right now, Jimmy Garoppolo or Aiden O'Connell? What do you think?
That's not even a question. I mean, even throwing for 62 yards, I still think Aiden O'Connell's a better player.
I would say Jimmy Garoppolo, and this is where I think against the Minnesota Vikings, I thought they should have put in Jimmy Garoppolo at halftime.
Well, yeah, okay, well, for sure. They should have switched the quarterback. Like Minnesota only won that game because they put Nick Mullins in. That Dobbs
Yeah,
guy was just running around doing nothing. And if you put Jimmy G in, I think you win that game. I agree. I agree
yeah,
with that. I don't think Aiden O'Connell is great. I think he's okay. And I think, he clearly showed he could win by not passing the ball even after the first quarter. Like, because their team is just all around that solid. But we're missing that one piece. And I think that's another thing you blame Josh McDaniels. That bozo again, kind of effed up the whole quarterback situation. If you had Carr this year, as much as I hate to say it, you'd win a lot more of these games. You would
yeah,
you would not make those kind of lose 3-0, like even before that, getting blown out by Detroit, like
yeah.
like on Monday night, like in prime time, and then just some terrible, terrible situations we've been put in because of our quarterback play.
But see, this is where I would say, so you said Carr. If we had Carr, we'd be winning some of those games. I think Jimmy Garoppolo and Derek Carr are very similar players. They have very similar playing styles and they've accomplished similar things in terms of numbers. Jimmy Garoppolo is a proven veteran. He's been to a Super Bowl with the Niners, and he's played well under Kyle Shanahan. So he hasn't had a chance to play under Antonio Pierce yet. He's always been this season. The only time he's played has been under Josh McDaniels, and we know how bad of a coach he has been. So under Bo Hardegree, we haven't seen Jimmy Garoppolo take a snap. So would he like? I think Jimmy Garoppolo would have played better in Kansas City than Aiden O'Connell did. Like I think he would have. Obviously, we still won the
Well,
game,
well,
but
I'll tell you here why that can't happen. Why this? It's actually genius. Why when Antonio Pierce took over in that first conference, he said Aiden's the guy going forward. Aiden, we're gonna roll with Aiden going forward. And it's because if Jimmy Garoppolo gets hurt, which he's very prone to doing, we saw it week one in Denver, he got hit one play. On like the third play of the game, he got hit. He tried scrambling and he ran for like a first down and he got licked by Kareem Jackson, who's now back on Houston. But if he gets hurt, you owe him his whole contract. You pay him out like 63 million. If he doesn't by March 1st, you can cut him and you'll save that 37 million of dead cap. You'll save all that money. And the move was that if Antonio Pierce got the job, that Jimmy G was never going to be the quarterback moving forward. So you can't, even if you say, okay, yeah, like they should have put Jimmy G in the second half of the Vikings game, they weren't going to do that no matter what. And it's because if Jimmy G gets hurt, that's just a liability. They owe him so much money. Mark Davis is already paying Gruden. He has to pay McDaniels whatever's left on that deal. We never knew what that deal was. He has to still pay. He has to pay Dave Ziegler. And then on top of it, you got to give Jimmy G like $60 million. Like, no chance. Antonio Pierce is not a dumb guy. He's not going to take that chance.
so I get that, but so I think Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be on the roster next year because if we cut him, it doesn't save us any money because of the dead cap. So he's going to be on the team next year anyway. Because I think it's like 25 million in dead cap, and we'll save around the same amount. So it's like a net zero to cut him. So might as well just keep him as a backup, right, next year. So he's going to be on the team next year, and I think he gives us a better chance to win than Aiden O'Connell right now. I know that's controversial, but Aiden O'Connell is a rookie, and he's so like he's obviously a great thrower of the football. I'm not debating that. He can throw the ball, but he doesn't know how to read defenses. He doesn't know how to check in and out of plays. He's not given that freedom. And I think Jimmy Garoppolo knows the scheme better. He's played in this offense before, even though it's not McDaniels' offense anymore. The plays are all installed. Um, so it's interesting to see. I mean, I still think we have a chance in Indy, but our offense can't put up a stinker like like they did against Kansas City, it's not sustainable for us to keep scoring two
Yeah,
defensive touchdowns.
yeah.
So look, we have a chance the way our defense playing, but like, can our offense go out and just put up 17 points? I don't know. That's a question that is yet to be answered.
It's not doable, to bank on the defense scoring 14 points every game, like you said. And if Aiden O'Connell is going to go out there and throw 62 yards, I can tell you right now we're not going to win. But the thing that's good, that's a really bad Falcons team just played Indy, and they blew them out. It was 29-10. Gardner Minshew put up an egg. He sucked. They were really bad that game, and Atlanta just got whatever they want. It was Bijan Robinson on checkdowns. I think he had like 9 receptions on checkdowns, and he just kept running. Also, the run game. I think Indy gave up like 150 yards rushing, and then there was just some big pass plays. Taylor Heineke got the ball there. I think all around, if we can really put pressure on Gardner, we'll be okay. But if the offense can't score points, like you said, then we're in trouble. I mean, this something has to change this week with the offense. Zamir White obviously was amazing last game, but passing wise, like you got to get Devontae more involved. I mean, one catch for 4 yards is just disrespectful. That he had like late into the game. I forgot what he finished with, one catch for 4 yards.
One catch for 4 yards, and his catches in the first quarter too. It was like one of the first. I think it was the
That's
first drive of the
ridiculous.
game.
I mean that is just ridiculous. But obviously the good thing is he's still happy because obviously we know that he doesn't have a quarterback. There's not a reliable guy who can get him the ball every time. It's just a guy who's like filling in. So if you get him next, he's happy that we're winning games, and he doesn't care if he gets one catch for us. Earlier in the season when McDaniels was the coach, remember he said he was like, "Oh man, like I care about greatness." You remember he was like, "I don't
Yeah,
care
yeah,
about wins and losses. I care about greatness." Like now, I mean, where did that go? He's still dancing on the sidelines when we're when we're winning games. So it
yeah,
really doesn't matter. I think he's kind of agreed. He's kind of accepted the fact that he's going to be the one next year who's gonna, he's gonna rest out the rest of the season, not really having that 100-yard game. And I don't know how many yards away. He's like 30 yards away from a 1,000-yard season. He'll probably get there, like, and keep his streak going. But other than that, I just really, I think we keep him. Obviously, we don't get rid of him. He's still one of the, top 10, I'd say, best receivers in football. He's not really top five. I wouldn't put him in top five anymore. But when he has a good quarterback, probably top 10. But it'll be interesting to see. Indianapolis is going to be, a tough game on the road, but we've shown in the past that we've been able to win there, with
yeah.
whoever it is. Even when we were, I think, the year we were 7-9. Remember we watched that game in my house. We were
Yeah.
7-9, and we had that was Gruden's second year, and we beat them in Indy. So I think we have a chance. But the playoff situation, that's what I wanted to get into next. Um, so as it stands, like a 13% chance of making the playoffs probably goes up now that Russell Wilson is done because Jared Stidham, I mean, he played well last year in the last 2 games when Carr got benched, but not really a winner. Didn't win any of those games. And I wish he beat the 49ers, but apparently not. So we could go into the playoff machine and try to like discuss some. So can you see that?
Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah, so we got the
Well,
play.
obviously, I think you should plug us in for wins against because if we lose to any of the teams,
Yeah, then obviously it's over. If we lose a game, it's over.
yeah. So it's
So
a given that we're gonna beat because
yeah,
we need something at home.
automatically we
Anyway.
beat Indy and we beat Denver. That's given.
Yeah,
So now you got like some games that matter here. So primarily being Pittsburgh and Seattle, Dolphins and Ravens, and Houston and Tennessee. Those are really the core games that matter. So if we just go ahead and, if we go ahead and, I mean, I like Baltimore right now, the way they're playing.
yeah,
I don't think Miami will have a chance, even though it's better if Miami wins.
yeah,
Because if going into week 18, if Steelers beat Ravens here and Ravens rest all their guys, then we're done.
Mhm.
If Steelers win this game, it's over.
Yeah.
So if we start here and we give the game, I mean, who would you give it to?
I think you have to give it to the Dolphins because if the Ravens win, like you said, the only way we can pass the Steelers
Yeah,
is because if they're 9-8 and we're 9-8,
yeah.
we have to rely on the Colts three-way tiebreaker.
But the other thing is, I don't think the Ravens will allow Steelers to make the playoffs. I think Ravens will do
Yeah.
whatever it takes. Like
I
I don't
really hope
think they're
so.
gonna want it. That's why I don't think they'll rest anyone in Week 18. I don't think they want the Steelers in. You know,
Yeah.
because the Steelers get dangerous then when they make the playoffs.
Yeah.
We give it to Geno. Geno's playing really well right now. Again, they won last week. This is a key game right here. So, like, if we give it to Tennessee, then we'll be okay. Because obviously, Kansas City at home against Cincinnati coming off a bad loss. Kansas City is gonna. I think they're gonna blow them out.
Yeah.
I
And
don't
either
think.
way, like that game helps us no matter what. Because if Kansas City loses, our Raider Nation is gonna be like so excited because we have a chance for the division in week
Yeah,
18.
but then it won't happen because look who they play in Week 18.
Yeah,
They
exactly.
get
Obviously,
Easton
there's a
Stick, which is not going to
exactly.
happen. And
So
then it's worse for us because then if Cincinnati wins, then we're in trouble. See, then we're not even in the playoff picture.
yeah. So ideally, we
So
need Kansas
we
City to
got to
win.
get Kansas City to win that game. So right here, an ideal situation. Like if, like okay, we'll give it to Buffalo. It doesn't matter. If Miami wins, Houston loses to Tennessee, Kansas City beats Cincinnati, Seattle beats Pittsburgh, and the Raiders beat the Colts, then look at this. Then we go to Baltimore supposedly
Yeah.
with 1 week left in the season. That's how it stands. So then over here in week 18, this game is critical. See, because if the Steelers win, the Steelers are in.
Yeah.
If the Ravens win, then
We're
they
in.
they obviously they have a chance to play for the first seed. So Miami winning this game is crucial, and they just beat a very good Cowboys team. So I
Yeah.
think obviously the Ravens beat the 49ers, but Brock Purdy when you're throwing 4 interceptions is very hard to win. It's
Yeah.
very hard to win. So if you move over here and you give this game, I mean Buffalo's still playing for the. I mean at this point they would be out of the division race. So if they're still playing for their and they win that game, it doesn't even matter.
Yeah. And they already have Buffalo already has 9 wins too, and they've already beaten us. And
Yeah,
there's no way that we can get it over them because there's no three-way tiebreaker.
yeah. So either it's 7 seed or nothing.
Yeah.
So and then over here, even if Houston wins that or Indy wins that, that doesn't matter at that point. Kansas City wins that, it doesn't matter. So like this late in the season, like it won't. This won't matter either if Cleveland or Cincinnati wins. It's just for seeding purposes. But the key game is really like this Ravens Steelers game
Yeah.
and this Ravens Dolphins game. So what the Ravens do the rest of the season is very important. Even if I think if Houston wins out, they make the playoffs over us. Yeah, so Houston would win the division then.
Yeah. Because the AFC South
Jacksonville,
is interesting because there's three teams at 8-7. So obviously the
yeah,
Colts can't make it if they lose to us because obviously
that,
we have it over them.
and then Jacksonville would need to lose two then. So
Yeah.
there's like it's not really possible if Houston doesn't lose either to Indy or to Tennessee. So they got two divisional games. CJ Stroud coming back off a concussion. It's not looking good for us, honestly. Like I think Texans have a good chance of winning those two games.
Yeah.
But even if they do win those two games, there's still another way. Like if Jacksonville somehow chokes, because we've seen them choke before, but I doubt they'll lose to Carolina. Carolina's like the worst. Plus, they don't have a draft pick, so that could be true. They have nothing to play for. They've lost their draft pick already. Is going to Chicago.
Yeah.
So I mean, we'll see. But I mean, in the best case scenario, Indy gets that win. Obviously, Jacksonville is going to win that game. They're not going to. I don't think they're going to lose to either
Yeah.
of these teams. It's really just this game, and it's really just Houston the last 2 weeks.
Yeah. And
So,
there's a Sean, can you go to the other there's a thing on the New York Times. Just look up
oh
Raiders.
yeah, 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 yeah. Raiders path
It
to
shows
playoffs.
you the live percentage. I want to
I've
see
been
that.
I've been doing that for like. See, I've been looking
I think
that
I've
up.
been doing that since like my sophomore year of high school every year, looking at this same simulator.
Yeah, and we never
Yeah,
made.
how the Raiders can make playoffs. So obviously give us those 2 wins.
Yeah. So let's give us those 2 wins. So it goes up to 71 now if we win
Yeah. And then
60.
if you scroll to week 18, the biggest game, like we said, is the Ravens Steelers game.
Yeah,
If the Steelers win, the only way we can make it is if we win the division itself, which is obviously going to be really
impossible.
hard considering they play East and Stick. So we need that Ravens game. And then we're at around 77%.
Yeah.
So that's 3 and 4 chance that we're gonna make the playoffs because the AFC South teams are they're gonna beat up on each other. So
Yeah.
there's gonna be a way we can make it
A
as
lot
long
of
as we
lot
win.
of AFC South violence.
Yeah,
Yeah, and then I mean a
it's gonna be
lot of it
interesting
has to go
because
right.
I
Yeah.
don't know if we win against the Colts and everything doesn't go our way in week 17, will we be eliminated? Like, is there a chance we can be eliminated even if we win week 17? I don't believe so.
I don't think so, no, because like if we get rid of these, like get rid of these games and just focus on week 17. So like if everything was to go shit, Steelers win, then
Sins,
if
Panthers.
Carolina beats Jacksonville, then our chances go down to 51. So like
Which that
that
doesn't. I don't even know how that makes
I
sense.
don't know
Like,
how that makes sense either. That's
I
not
think
gonna
it has something to do with the tiebreakers.
Yeah, so there's no way we can get eliminated if we win out.
At least the first week, yeah, week
Yeah,
17.
yeah. So the first week, unless we lose, obviously, if we lose, then it's like less than 1%.
Yeah, no, it's done. It's 0.
Zero. Yeah, it's over. It's over. So yeah, I think we'll have a chance, but
Yeah, it's just all going to come down, like we said, to that the Ravens Steeler game, because that like you said, that Steeler game is. If we had won that game, we would have been in the driver's seat to make it. We could have probably even lost the game and still made it if we had
yeah,
won the Steeler game.
yeah, I agree. I agree.
But
But anyways, yeah, let's just buckle up and see what happens, Raider Nation. I think keep liking, commenting, subscribing. We appreciate it all. And not the season we expected, but it turns out still could be pretty interesting going down the stretch. We still have a chance at playoffs. We know we're gonna get a good coach. We know we're gonna, we have a good coach. We know we're gonna get a good quarterback, hopefully, and we'll see what happens. And we'll see you guys later.
yeah, thank you, Raider Nation.
Thanks, yo.